Oh my gosh. What's up, guys?
Howdy.
Hey, fellas.
How are you?
Doing great.
It's Wednesday.
I'm nervous though.
What are you nervous about?
Real nervous, man. Because I just am afraid of getting in front of people and talking. Especially
That's why
guys.
you're all like shrunk
Is this
down.
thing on? Quick.
Especially the guys like you.
There.
Guys, you make me real nervous.
I'm stage fright. What? I don't know what to do with my hands. What?
Yeah.
No, I'm actually a little bit, obviously with the big honey harvest coming up, it's just got a lot of logistics we're trying to put together to make sure we get it done and people have a good time. So
yeah,
but that's mainly this. I always get a little bit anxious before this because if it was just me doing it, I would still be nervous, but then it would be just me, not only be in charge of me or trying to do something for me, but with probably 6 people on Friday, maybe 7, and then up to 14 or 15 or even 16 people on Saturday. It's a lot of people that I hope have an enjoyable time.
Can we change Bruce's name tag, Brian, to Tom Sawyer? Can we do that?
Why?
Yeah, I could.
Tom Sawyer. Yeah, gets everyone in the neighborhood to pay him to paint his fence for fun. You know, love it.
Well, most of these people asked me to come, so you know.
There it is.
I said, sure, why not?
Look at that.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of
fun. Oh, it's an exciting time of the year. So for all of our Stream Team listeners, thanks for joining another Stream Team Beekeeping Chat live tonight on the Castle Hives YouTube channel. Brian, what are we talking about tonight?
I have no idea.
Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Well, you said flip or flop, Brian. So
flip or flop.
Are you flipping or flopping on us tonight, man?
I have no idea. The ideas kept flipping into my head, and they'd flop out of my head. You know, I had no idea what I was doing.
This isn't one of those like you were for it before you were against it type of thing. It's like it's not that kind of flip flop we're talking tonight, are we?
No.
Okay.
I don't know what we're going to talk about.
Although we've all probably had a little bit of that going on in our beekeeping careers.
Exactly. Floundering.
We've all done a little bit of flipping and flopping in what our beliefs
were
and how we did things.
As DC said, floundering. I like that word. Floundering. Yeah. So now earlier today, so Bruce and I were texting back and forth, and you know, he sent me this schedule and all that stuff, and he's nervous about that. So I sent him back my schedule for how I do things. So let me scroll up to it. So he sends me this big, huge, long thing with these names and all that stuff, you know. So then I said, makes me thankful I'm a hobbyist. So my schedule is right there. Pull honey, Brian, extract Brian.
Nailed it.
There we go. Not a lot of thought into that. I don't stress out over it. Pull honey, Brian, extract Brian.
That's right. It was funny.
It's very simple.
I sent Brian a list of all the folks coming, and he just sent me that back. He's like, pull honey, Brian, extract Brian. It's very simple, yeah.
Well, you know, when you get a team coming in, you know, not only, you know, it's in a weird spot because yes, you've got folks who are coming in, and there are people who are going to want to visit and hang out and have fun, but the mission is get Bruce's honey pulled quickly and efficiently. And so to put teams together and to pair people and to say, okay, you know, Bruce, I'll only imagine you're thinking, okay, I'm going to try to set up this many people to do this to do that, and then try to keep things kind of moving along there.
Well, our pulling honey crew is going to be, we got Jed coming in from Utah. We got a Glade coming in and also Bracken's coming in. And so those 3 guys all get after it pretty good, I think, and they all understand pretty well what it's going to take, or at least I've tried to prep them. I know Bracken was here last year and he understands. Then Lee Fellows and his wife are coming down from Tennessee. They're going to get here, you know, supposedly probably mid to late morning on Friday morning. So they'll hop into it, and then they might bring their grandson with them. And so I think his grandson, their son or grandson, I think his grandson, awesome. Yeah. And so they'll hop in, and I'm hoping the Utah guys getting here tomorrow afternoon. We may be able to get a couple of the yards pulled tomorrow evening, the smaller yards, and that'll save us a little bit of time on Friday. And we're looking at, if anyone saw my last video, I just kind of went through and popped in on went through and popped in on the, popped like 38 lids. I counted on in about 15 minutes on the video, and you can just see how much honey's in there now. I didn't take off the box and look what was below to see if the bees had started eating honey down there or whatever had filled them all up. But many times if the top box is full, lots of times those lower boxes are full as well. I hope they are. If they are, then we theoretically have over 250 supers to pull. I think I counted 266 mediums and 8 deeps. Now, some of those mediums were fresh foundation I put on towards the end. I think 8 or 10 of them were. So I would probably decrease that number by 10 at least, probably. But still, it's going to be over 250, I'm hoping. And that's going to be a lot of honey to pull and get the extraction is the biggest thing. We just got to keep those 32 frame extractors spinning constantly. That's going to be the trick. And so that, Greg, what you're going to your point, I think we've got, and everyone understands they're going to come to work, but with that many people, we'll be able to have people kind of rest here or there and kind of go out and visit and it'll be more of an opportunity to kind of get to know each other and fellowship a little bit. Mm-hmm. But sometimes good hard work is the best way to fellowship, I've found. I mean, we've had some tremendous experiences in the past with this thing, and we have Jed's going to be leaving about mid-afternoon on Saturday, so he's going to drive down to fly out, and so Grammy's going to come in after she's got, I think, a farmer's market or something she's doing Saturday morning. She's going to come down and kind of pitch in and help out. We got some people checking in, so I think I've got a solid folks, probably 11 or 12 people are going to be there all day, and then 3 or 4 others are going to kind of come in and out throughout the day. So really an ideal crew for us is about probably 10 to 12 people is pretty good. So if we have a couple more people than that, then it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to enjoy it. I think people are going to show up. I hope they all feel like they have a good experience. And I'm going to stand there with the camera. And that's another thing, DC, you mentioned that it's easy to film too much footage. People don't understand that. If you film too much, then it's so hard to get it edited and put down into something that is watchable. If you just film everything you do, then you have to wade through all that and try and figure out what people want to see. So I actually try not to film too much, because if you do, it can be, if you do try to edit, especially for those folks that don't edit much, it can be way, way too much. And so it'll be interesting. I hope it'll turn out okay and be fun and everybody will enjoy it. And I think it's going to be a really good vibe. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also, like I say, I just get nervous. What if the equipment doesn't work? What if the encapper breaks down or something? Or what if one of these extractors doesn't, or what if what if is in my mind? It just gives me, that's just how it always is before something like this. You guys have both organized and been part of things, especially Greg. You've done a lot of things where you just, you have people come to your place, or, you have those learning yards every, however often you have those. And every time I'm sure there's a little bit of a pit in your stomach. Like, I just hope things go okay and everything works out the way we plan. And so that's just how it is. And I'm not, it's going to be a lot of fun. There's Jed just checked into the chat. I told him all to make sure they bring plenty of pairs of clothes, because they'll have to change them out. They'll be getting sweaty. And so we're actually blessed, though. We've been having a fair amount of rain. We just had a thunderstorm pop up right before this chat tonight. It'll be nice, and then it'll rain for like a half hour, then it'll get sunny, then it'll rain again. And it just did that again. It just popped up, and then I was looking at early in the week, and it looked like we're going to have like a 45% chance of rain Friday when we're trying to pull, but now it says it's supposed to be sunny, and they didn't mention any chance of rain. So hopefully Saturday, and both Friday and Saturday are looking like they're going to be nice and sunny for us. And so hope so. I see Michael in here from 21st Bee. Michael, I don't know if you saw my most recent video, but near the end of that video, I was just peeking in hives, and I pulled one of those frames up from the box, and it's completely drawn out. It's got honey in it, and they're starting to cap it. This was about almost a week ago. So they really put the comb in there really quick in those infinity frames. But anyway, Jeb was just texting me about boiled peanuts. For those who don't know what those are,
those things are great.
Sounds kind of weird, but once you try them, they're just nice. They're really good. They're kind of salty, and just that's something right here. Dothan, Alabama, is the peanut capital of the world. At least we claim that. We have the peanut festival every year, and it's a big deal. There's a lot of peanuts around here, and so I think we'll be able to probably find some boiled peanuts for them. Maybe one of the places that sells my honey actually usually has boiled peanuts there, so maybe we can track them some down. But that's what's going on here. Just the big getting ready for the harvest. Utah guys are flying in tomorrow afternoon. We're going to pull a few boxes then. Going to get the rest of them Friday if everything goes as planned, and then a huge crew coming. A lot of really good, hardworking, and great people coming Saturday to help extract. So we're looking forward to it.
Nice. Well, I don't have anything like that going on up here.
Your bees are looking strong though. That queen, you got some queens that are just laying it up, Brian.
I tell you what, yeah, they're looking good. Let me I got to pull up a picture. Let me see here. And you know, this is it's another one of those situations where I need to talk to my supplier, because and I don't even think he's seen this. So I got to talk to my supplier about this right here, because I mean, if you look
Would
there,
you look at that?
I can easily count there's got to be at least about 15 cells across that whole frame that she missed. And it's just entirely unacceptable.
Unbelievable.
Is that a Nature's Image farm queen or is it a package queen?
It's those garbage packages.
They're
garbage. So, and that one there actually, I think there were 4 frames in that colony that were exactly like that. So it's just like, and that's not including, you know, all the other eggs, larvae. I looked at that and I thought, oh my, add another box quick.
You know what a lot of people don't understand or recognize, and I get it, because you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. Right? Is that how that goes? Yeah. Like what a lot of folks don't understand is that we work with some fantastic producers. Those producers are using $1,800, $1,400 breeder queens every single year to make sure that they are always putting their best foot forward. So we at the learning yard this past weekend, it's the same thing. In the learning yard, we specifically put installs from every package pickup and then a nuke pickup. And of course the nukes are our line of queens, but we place those in the learning yard so we can go through all of those and we can see and compare and timing, and is this one what if next year do we go a little sooner, and what it does is it lets folks see what a package of bees will do if installed on this date along with their package. What can they actually do? And I mean, it's just I have to watch myself doing this, because I know this has been a running joke with the StreamTeamers, you know, for several years, because there are so many knuckleheads out there who think that they are experts with queen genetics and queen rearing and all these things, right? And they are always trashing package bees, or they're trashing bees that are getting treatments, or they're doing all these things. And so we have this inside line of comedic relief when it comes to that. But so when I find myself in a learning yard and, you know, don't you hate it when these bees just do this well? And people they're thinking, they're like, well, why would you hate that? I'm thinking, well, it's a long story and da-da-da-da-da. But it's been up and down as far as the weather goes. Matter of fact, as I say that, it is really coming down like cats and dogs. Yeah, I can hear it on the metal roof and I can see it out the window there. But yeah, it's the type of season around here, Brian, where
it's crazy.
We get up and we're working bees like very early as it's getting light, and the bees, everybody's nearly still home. They don't want to be fooled with at 7 o'clock in the morning, at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then as you work, when you get to 10 o'clock, you notice a difference. 11 o'clock, you definitely see a huge difference. And then from 11 o'clock until 4 o'clock, the bees are it's so beautiful. And then you gauge how long you've been working bees as the bees' attitudes start to slowly change. And then by 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the evening, you've been working bees nearly 12 hours. You get the full spectrum of, they were in the boxes when you started, they're all out working, they all come back home, and you get that dynamic of how the bees react. And then if you fronts coming in and clouds coming in and storms coming in, all these different things, you get to see how the bees, and not a lot of folks get to appreciate that, but you get to see how the bees demeanor changes throughout the day based on all those kind of factors. But
I know we Well, like right now, we don't have rain right now, but our yard is flooded from the rain that we've gotten today. There's a tornado warning just south of us. So,
oh, really?
The weather here today has just been it's kind of chaotic. But now we've got good weather coming, but I think it's going to be too good just because we're going to go from like this weather here to we've got 4 days next week where 2 of the days it's going to be 94, they're saying, and then the other 2 days like 91 and 90. We're so wet though that I don't think it'll have an effect on like the clover. Now we're into the ground cover, as far as what they're going to forage on. The girls are bringing stuff in. Like when I went over and checked, we've got the comb on top of frames. There's nectar in it. So there's a flow. They're drawing out frames like crazy. I don't think those 4 days are going to kill our ground cover, the ground forage. But we'll see, So that's really like as far as what I'm doing in the next week here and like what's gone on in the last week. It's just check space on the colonies. So, and there's an interesting, I wished that I had a comparison, because for those of you that see that old hex hive that I have, I wish that I had 3, 4 of them. That way I could compare. But the one that I have set up is actually, if you look at it, how it's structured, it's a hexagon, but if you figure it's almost like a tree trunk, okay? And it's a pretty decent size. Footprint wise, as far as the foundation that's in the thing, it's 9.5 frames, okay? Greg, I have my 3rd box on that package. Wow. And they were installed the ending of, what was that, April? So it hasn't even been 2 full months, and they're already working frames in a 3rd box. Now,
Brian,
all the other colonies are working the medium that's above the very first deep.
What is the cubic size of those? Are they about the same size as a medium or a deep or smaller? How do they compare?
It's just under a 10 frame deep.
They're pretty big then. Wow.
They are. And how they're set up in a fashion. I actually have a box over there, but it doesn't have any frames in it. There's 3 sets of 5 frames. So it's not all like straight across, so to say. They're staggered. So there's 5 frames in each kind of section. And they literally have taken off in that thing. When I opened it up the last time I was in it, just because I was just going to check it and see how they were doing. Now, I've known that they've excelled as far as performance-wise, like building out comb as compared to the others. But when I opened it up, literally every frame in the 2nd box was completely drawn out. And I thought, holy. So you figure 9.5, you're at 19, footprint-wise, 19 deep frames they have built out.
Wow. Impressive.
It's crazy. But like I said, I don't know if it's just a fluke. Now, it is on an end, so maybe they had some drift when I installed them, so maybe the population was ahead of the others. There's all those unknowns in this that I can't answer to. Chris Medeiros has a hex hive that, I made one up for him. He didn't install bees in it yet. So I don't have like a comparison. I can't call up Chris and say, hey, how are your
slacker? What a slacker.
Well, that's unbelievable. What people in Northwest Ohio, they're just,
Flatlanders. Unbelievable.
Flatlanders. That's it. But yeah, here, I'm just kind of riding the old, flow right now. The colonies are all doing pretty decent. I just wasn't in a video yet. People will see it I think I got a video edited, but it's not even in that. It'll be in the next one after that. I'm kind of getting behind on content, but I've got 19 colonies over there now. The 2 queens that I got from you, what was that, Friday? Those things. So I went over I had to peek on something on Saturday. I had to release the queen from the swarm that I caught, and she was in a clip, and I let her out, and I thought, let me just pop open the top real quick just to see how much of the candy they've chewed out. Greg, there was literally like, I mean, I'm talking 5 millimeters worth of candy in those. So I ended up going over then another day just to pull the cages out, found both queens, and I did very minimal splits. It was 2 frames brood, a frame of stores, and then an empty frame just to give them something to work on. And both of those splits, both the queens, they're in there doing good. So, but yeah, I mean, everything over there is, I mean, it's doing good. I can't complain. There's one colony that I'm eyeballing for something that you'll see in video, but I can't complain. I mean, from 2 months ago at this point here, I had 3 colonies. Now there's 19 there. So pretty good. Yeah. So
let me show you this real quick.
Yeah.
Look at that thing.
Holy Moses.
Processed my spring
real
wax.
Beaut, Clark. She's a real beaut.
I don't know if I've ever had any that smelled this good. This is just so. The key was I didn't heat it up as hot. It's really hard to get it. Like if you want to strain all the dirt and stuff out of it,
yeah,
it's hard to get it to strain through stuff if it's not a little bit hotter. But I tried to keep it at a temperature that where it was barely melted. Man, it's the spring wax cappings from our honey. Man, it turned out just absolutely. I'm gonna try to. I might need to put it in a Ziploc bag or something. I've got a couple of these, but I may try to enter it into the wax in the honey contest or wherever. They judge wax there as well at the Nobby at the Expo and see if I can figure it out. It's so hard to get wax. Is so hard to deal with, and every time you warm it up, it gets a little bit darker. And if I could figure out a way to get it to actually look, obviously perfect, but stay this color and smell like this, might have a chance. But I know they're really strict on how they judge that stuff. But it was I've used the Thorn 25-gallon wax melting tank, and I actually talked to Jeb before I did it. I did some things wrong last year that made it a little tougher. This time, the first pour went really well, and I've kind of screwed up a couple things after that. But the main pour of the wax, it was a much smaller harvest, and so I didn't get a lot out of it, but it just turned out just this beautiful. I mean, it's just absolutely. It's some of the prettiest wax I've ever seen. And I go to these honey shows and stuff, and I always think, man, my Maxis isn't that pretty. I mean, it's pretty, but it's not like that, And then this is at that standard as far as just the color. It's just perfect in my opinion. So,
do you know the only thing that I see that wax block is missing?
What's that?
You need to get a stamper that is the A with the mullet and stamp your mullet A into it.
Well, I could still do the mullet A, but I would have to, I could have to put in a mold or something. Or this is not the finished product. This is just a wax to work from. My daughter's doing I'm just show and tell right now, but my daughter's doing a horse retreat this week in Utah, and this is wax from last year. Look how pretty that thing is.
Oh wow. Those came out really nice.
It turned out super nice, and this is probably one of my best blocks of wax from last year, which is pretty close to the one I just poured. Those things, she's going to give those away to the clients that they're going to be traveling over Utah and taking. It's a photography retreat. They're going to have models and horses and stuff out there, just up in the mountains in Utah. It's going to be really cool. Salt flats and different places. You see a lot of the beautiful pictures of Utah, like the landscape out there, and they're going to go to some of the prettiest spots, up around the Utah Valley and out in the salt flats. There's going to be some really cool stuff. Yeah, you pay money. Well, I'll tell you what, DC, I'd have to grow a little hair before I could actually get a mullet. I just can't. My hair, I used to have really nice hair when I was younger, but it's no longer. I mean, I don't even know if I could grow it out long enough to even have any type of a mullet. Mainly what it does is gets all it just gets all weird. It doesn't really do anything except get weird. So I keep it cut pretty short.
I saw a picture. So when Bruce said that he had played football at BYU, I looked up an old picture, and like I saw a team photo, and I saw this one guy, and it almost, he kind of reminded me, honest, Greg, of Fabio. And I zoomed in, and it said under there Bruce Jenny, and I was like, look at this guy go. So back in the day,
muffin.
Yeah.
The wavy hair and all that stuff. I'm like, man, look at Bruce go.
Now, I never was a really good athlete, but I kind of looked like one for a while, and I also did have hair. So, but that's way back in the day. That's a whole different lifetime, fellas.
See,
that's a whole
Bruce.
different
What's
lifetime.
been Bruce? Man, I'm all confused. Greg, what's been going on down at Nature's Image since Friday?
Well, I got to say thanks to just our customer base just never ceases to amaze me. There are literally, there are places all over the country where folks can buy equipment. You can buy bees anywhere. Yeah. But the folks who are choosing to support the mission here at Nature's Image Farm is unbelievable. I am always, every weekend, humbled. I really wanted to come down and fellowship and spend time with Bruce and all the fellows from Utah and all the guys that he's got coming down there. We had some family that came and visited, which was awesome. And the nuke sales just won't slow down. And the bees are really building up nicely, and we're able to keep digging in and keep digging in. And so this weekend, we've got about another 50 nukes going out this weekend still. And we have folks already this year who have came from the Carolinas, Virginia, Tennessee, a ton from West Virginia, a ton from Michigan, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Texas, Illinois, have come all the way here. And when I asked them, why us? What was it about what we do that you chose to come here? Like, how did you hear about us? And so many folks have gotten the memo, and they've got the message that they want to support what we do with the bees, with the people, for the community. And so many folks are StreamTeam fans. Like, it's unbelievable how many. One of them, I was just back away in the office area here, and I heard someone kind of come through and come across, and they was telling his wife, "Oh, that's the StreamTeam." And she says, "Oh, those the guys that I'm always hearing all the time." And he's like, "Yeah." And then he walked through, and I could hear him. And he goes, "Oh, here's the Maxent stuff. This is the best stuff. This is the stuff that's actually made in the USA." And you can just hear the things that they say as they're going through the shop. And then, when I could break free, I walked over and said, "Hey, how's it going? What's your name?" And I said, "Well, I'm Greg." And he's like, "Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting to see actually see you here." It's so hard to try to wrap my head around, but all I can say is thank you. Folks can go anywhere to get bees and a box, right? But they are choosing to come support the Burns family business. They're choosing to support Endura Hive wax dipped. They're choosing to support made in the USA products, and they really appreciate what the StreamTeam does as a collective and also individually. Folks really appreciate that we keep it real. We are not afraid to share who we are on the field and off. We're not afraid to share with folks what we believe and why we believe it. We are unashamed of every aspect of our life, and we are not afraid to share it. And we are not considering the ramifications. We're not worried about, well, if this person doesn't like it, they're not going to buy this, or we're not. That doesn't matter. We are unashamed of who we are. We are unashamed that we put God first, then family, then business. We are unashamed of giving God the glory for all of these things. And we are unashamed of standing up and saying what is on our heart and what we feel is right. And so many folks, that is resonating with so many folks across the country, so much that they would drive all the way from Texas for 2 nukes, or they would come all the way from South Carolina for 2 bee boxes. Like, that is significant, and that is an incredible blessing for me. And it is a constant reminder of what it really means to be a lighthouse to folks. And Bruce and Brian, we've been doing this together for 3.5 years. We've lived a certain life individually all up until that point. But how beautiful is it that when have come together, you know, what we have done together as a team, what this, how this community has built and how it has grown. It is just a beautiful thing. So we've been just busy we have not stopped every weekend since mid to the end of March. Every single weekend from then on has been either package sales, nuke sales. It's been unbelievable. So that's what we're in the thick of right now, and we're winding down. You know, there's maybe a little less than 100 nukes left to go out the door the next couple weekends. And so that is where that's the game that we're in, and we were almost past all that. I just can't thank everybody enough for all the support. It's truly humbling. And we would not be here without everybody. We couldn't. So thank you.
Yeah, I think about what's going to happen this weekend, and it's just mostly, you know, a lot of us because of the community. You know, I've got local folks here; they're going to help out too. But man, you have guys coming from Utah, Tennessee, and Mississippi coming over to help out. It's kind of just to come and help me harvest honey. So it's pretty neat to see. And I think without the stream team, we probably would have never. I'm sure some of them may have just found my channel. Maybe they wouldn't have, you know. I know we've got a lot of people that cross over 3 channels that kind of find each other through the channel, maybe through our chat that we're doing. But anyway, it is really cool, and we do appreciate everyone that's in here. We just have
Greg,
people that hop on every Wednesday night.
Mark, thank you much, buddy. Did you see that?
Oh, nice! Look at that. It looks great. Is that your buddy that came down?
Mike, yeah, he got.
Yeah, Mike.
So we had a long day. We were going to set those up Saturday morning, but I looked at the time and I said, you know what? I said, let's scoot by my place, because we had to drive basically by my area to go out to his way, because he was out like Hermitage area, just across the PA line. And I said, let's stop by my place real quick. I can drop the queens, and literally I pulled up, just because they were such small splits, I pulled the frames up, shook them, absolutely no cups.
Nice.
Put the queens in. I told him, I'll literally be 10 or 15 minutes. And like, he had never been around bees. And he said to put the queens in. I said, yep. So I explained what I was doing, did that. We went out to his place and we got his set up on those like temporary stands. But he wants me to build. He was looking in my yard, like in the, you know, after seeing in the learning yard. So I'm going to do him 2 of the stands, like what I build too. But he was so pumped. Like, we got those colonies set up, and the next morning he said, you know, there's one that's more active than the other. And I said, it's okay. I said, when they're set up, I said, you gotta figure. I said, one might have more foragers than the other. They're just situated there. They need to get oriented. I said, give them a day. I said, and he was sending me pictures all throughout the day and texting.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, like, that was literally his very first day that he had bees. He literally, then the next day was just, I can't believe it. They're just, I mean, coming back and forth, and they've got pollen, and like, and I mean, just like a kid in the candy store. So yeah, I'm going to go out again and just help him a little bit. Really nice guy. You know, we gosh, from the drive from here down to your place, I mean, we chatted the entire time. So good dude. So yeah, it's fun. It's nice being around somebody that's brand new like that
and so pumped up about it. And you forget how many, you know, we talk about this all the time, and it's something I think we all, the three of us, try to be mindful of. But you know, I've said this a million times on here. You know, we forget. You know, we can almost go back and remember what it was like when we were getting ready to ride a bike, getting ready to take the training wheels off, right?
Yeah.
But you forget a lot of that nuance. But you can remember, all you want to do is get the wheels off, and you want to go hit some jumps, and you want to be like the rest of the guys who are cruising around on two wheels. But you forget all the little steps and all the things and the courage and all the newness of all those things. And so when it comes to beats, like as we get further down the road, you know, we have forgotten what it was like to even have the training wheel beekeeping season, and then the wheels coming off and all those things. But how beautiful is it if we try to remember back what those initial impressions were that we had with those bees? You know, Bruce, can you think back, you know, to that very first colony? Like, can you even try to remember what was going through your mind then?
Oh, it was just, yeah, I remember. I just was hooked from the first moment. It just, I don't know what it is, but yeah, I remember. It was just so, I was pretty excited about it. I kept calling my mentor, and like, I bugged him to death, the guy that sold me the bees, and my mentor. And he, I remember he told me, I went through him the first time. I think he told me to close them up for 2 weeks and go in, and I couldn't wait. I think I waited 2 weeks, a week or two, whatever he told me. And when I opened them up, and he asked me if I got stung. And I think I told him, yeah, I think I did get stung, or maybe I didn't. I don't know. And he's like, well, you're not a real beekeeper till you get stung. But yeah, it was fun. I was worried about it. I said, how about, you know, I asked him all kinds of questions. He's like, well, as long as there's water within a mile, as long as there's whatever. But I was so worried. Do I need to put water out for him? There's a creek like 50 yards down from there. But I'm like, do I need to put water out for him? Do I need to do all these things? And he always told me from the start, mites and beetles, control your mites and beetles. And of course, I believed that at first, didn't know any better. And then I didn't believe that. And now I do believe that. And so went through that whole process. But yeah, I remember how it just still, I'm still in awe of them. When I crack those boxes open and look at the honey in there, I just, you know, the most recent video, I mean, it's just like a little kid again in a candy store. I'm like, I can't believe what they do. I can't believe they go out there and bring this liquid back into that colony and process it. And it's still every time, you know, in the off season when you're just trying to keep them alive, it's not as much fun to me then. It's just kind of feels more like work then. But boy, in the spring when they start to build up and you can split them and all the things you do with them, and then you just when they start packing that honey, and I just absolutely I'm in awe of all the building wax and just capping it, and I don't know, it's still, my passion for bees is not minimized any. Now I get burned out sometimes. As far as the love I have for these little critters, if anything, I think it's stronger now than it was day one.
Oh yeah,
it really is. It really is.
Yeah.
And people just don't understand. A lot of people who are beekeepers do, if they really love it. But people on the outside, there's just something that they will never understand. You know.
Yeah.
But it's just there's something about it. So
yeah.
I do love it though.
I told Mike, so Greg, we set him up the location where we put him at the main house where he's at. They've got a couple homes. He texted me like it was on Sunday, and he said, I want to put bees at my house. I said, well, Mike, I'll tell you what. I said, let's go through this season and learn those colonies, learn how to inspect them, learn their behavior, learn, you know, this season with those two. And I said, then when it gets to next year, I said, you know this spot where you can get your equipment. That's a given. You know where you can get your equipment that's going to last for years. I said, when it gets to next year, you can see about splitting your colonies. And I said, if they're looking good, you split them. If you need to get others, you know, some additional, well, he knows where to get those as well. So he's hooked though. He is hook, line, and sinker.
Can you remember, Brian, what it was like when you got your first couple colonies? Can you remember what like those first impressions? Can you what comes to mind if you try to put yourself in that mindset?
I mean, it was the excitement. I mean, people know me. I'm easily excitable. You know, I just edited out the video I was doing today. There was a moment in there. I'm like, yeah, I got to pull that out of there because people are going to be like, man, what is this guy on? You know, I get easily excitable. You know, but it just, I mean, just to think back, I remember like when I installed the packages, we installed them in the Flow Hive setup, installed them into mine, and went back later and just to see like that comb being built out and seeing those colonies grow and see them produce, it just, I still, you know, there are days where I still get kind of that same feeling, you know, and I'm kind of almost there right now just from how my yard looks. You know, I was 7 weeks ago in a very, very bad spot. You know, I had way too much equipment inside of a building and not outside of the building. And now it's gone completely opposite where I had to go down and some of the things that I had to get at Greg's place there, Bruce, I ran out of bottom boards. I was going to do more splits than what I had done other than just the two. And I was looking everywhere and I'm like, I don't have any bottom boards. So, you know, I went from one extreme then to the other. But I almost feel that same way now. It's just, there's such a rush sometimes when you walk out there. And like the other day when I walked out and you're just standing there and it's almost like you can sense that harmony, you know, it's like, you know, in people, we have that homeostasis in us. You know, I walked out there and you could just hear that buzz that's there. And I stood there for a second and was just watching them. And it's just a nonstop, it's like the Autobahn, just nonstop back and forth, you know, full speed ahead, going out foraging. And, you know, they're going into the colonies and it just, oh man, I could just sit over there hours just watching that and listening to that. It just feels amazing, you know, when you're in the presence of that, like those that don't know, if there's anyone in here that's not a beekeeper, when you can just stand there and literally, like in my yard, okay, there's 19 colonies, however many thousands of bees you would say that is, you know, it's just such an awesome feeling. And like at your yard, Greg, you know, when we were going down through there with the rows that you have, how many thousands of bees do you have in those 3 rows?
Oh,
millions.
Oh, it's so, yeah. Come 4 o'clock and the sun hits and you walk through there, it is just, you can hear the sound and you know, when the sun hits them, it is the most miraculous sight to behold, to see millions of bees coming to and fro. I think that's probably the thing that I think still, that I'm still awestruck with to this day. You know, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of repetitions of cracking lids and going through hives that we've had now at this point. But the thing that I can still remember opening up those first hives and I can still see what that landing board looks like. And the thing that I to this day that I still remember, now granted, my walk with the Lord wasn't as tight then as it is now. But even then, I can remember looking at those bees and without a shadow of a doubt, could understand and see some sort of divine purpose with those bees that I just couldn't fully even begin to comprehend. But all I could see is, here are these bees that are going to and fro and in and out and working and gathering and and then you open up the lid and you just see everything working together in some kind of organized, it seemed like some kind of organized, harmonious chaos, because I couldn't understand all of that. But here are all these bees moving side by side, on top, through, crawling in, out, doing all these different things. And when you look at the individual frame, it seems like chaos. You look at a group of frames, and then all those frames in a box, you start to see, oh my gosh, when everything is working together, when everybody is on the same page, when everybody understands, appreciates, and has the same common goal and mission, it is so beautiful to see what can actually get done. So even to this day, when I sit there and I'm still awestruck. My favorite thing to do is to just sit perpendicular to those hives.
Yeah.
On a box, on a chair, you name it, and just watch them go in and out. It is just nothing short of miraculous.
Yeah. Yeah, this season, it's funny how, like, I look back at some of my past seasons, and, you know, I have said, you know, since I had probably the worst winter that I would ever have, you know, and I could have taken that anyway. I could have taken that incident and just walked away, you know, and said, I'm done with this. But that moment there led me down the path where, you know, I met this bozo from Zanesville, Ohio, you know, and then that kind of connected the three of us, and I've learned everything that I have in the last 3 years. This season, it feels funny to me. It almost feels like a season 1. It just, for some reason, it just, you know, and not everything has been perfect, you know, but no beekeeping season is, you know, there's nothing is just, it's not always just 100% cruise control. And, you know, I'm walking on a bed of roses every time I go over there, and, you know, tiptoeing in the tulips, so to say. You know,
can you sing it like Tiny Tim, though?
Exactly. I was thinking that. Did you see how I kind of lifted up in the chair?
I saw that. I saw that.
It won't happen. I would sound worse than what he did.
That's what we're talking about tonight. The point of conversation tonight is you know, is it flip or flop or flip? Yep. Your season has completely been flipped and turned around.
Oh yeah.
And there's a great lesson to be learned in that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I look at it, and I'm just amazed at, really, it's just those bugs in the box there. You know, you give them more or less, but it's not us. You know, there's Mother Nature, and, you know, I can point straight up, has provided those bees in that apiary what they've needed. You know, and you look at the weather that we've had, though, too. It hasn't always been the greatest of days. We had those, you know, what, May, we had twice the precipitation. It was 10 degrees cooler than normal. But still, on what, June 18th here, you know, I've got a package of bees that in a sense is working a third deep. Every other one is in, you know, a deep and a medium that I'm probably very soon going to drop my queen down to the deep and throw excluders on. That way they can work on just packing out some nectar and get some honey up there. So I've got colonies that are looking utterly fantastic. You know, set aside from everything that, you know, if we look back in May, and I'm sure you being on the commercial end, and you're looking at, okay, I need to get these nukes prepared for my customers. I've got X number of sales. You know, we can't all be like Bruce, where we're pulling, you know, 18,000 pounds of honey
a week.
A week, yes, a week. Yeah, he pulls like 400 supers a week or something crazy like that.
I heard it was a day.
Yeah, it's all in a day, man. Do it all in a day. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he's got a crew of 50 people. So, yeah.
Brian, you're known to exaggerate a little bit there, buddy, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Bracken and Jed are both on here, and I know Bracken is. I think Jed was on earlier, but
yeah.
Hey, listen, I pulled up something. We were talking about the sounds in the bee yard, and hopefully you can hear this. I don't know if you can, but this is a couple videos ago. I was down in Slocum, and these hives actually it was kind of early in the morning, like 8:30 in the morning, and the flow was slowing down, so they were all bearded, just all hanging out all over the hives. The sun really hadn't come up yet enough for them to get out and start working much. Hopefully you can hear this. I don't know if you can on the speaker. I'm gonna try it and see. If we can't hear it, I'll just turn it off. But just about a 10 or 15-second little thing here of the bees, just kind of the low buzz. Very, very therapeutic. I could almost do an ASMR thing on it. It was so cool. Here we go. I'm not sure if you can hear it or not. I'm going to kind of give you a couple of seconds to listen in here. But there's a little bit of a buzz, or like a little bit of a steady, calm, peaceful roar of these bees here in this bee yard right now. They're not really going crazy, flying out and foraging right now, but there's just a steady little buzz going on. Let me just go quiet for a few seconds and let you listen. It's calling right. Isn't that just cool? It's just a calm buzz. Whereas, I was out at the apple yard maybe that same day or a week or so before. Actually, the day we went out and put the infinity frames on, and it was like I thought there was a swarm. I was like, "Where's the swarm at?" And I just looked over, and it was just all the bees just flying up like in a cloud, and then just taking off across the field and going and collecting nectar. And so, but that therapeutic, that low buzz, and it's hard to really capture it on something like this, but that low buzz when you're just walking and you got, I think it's 32 colonies there in Slocum, and they're just all hanging out, and they weren't actively really getting after it and flying. They were just hanging out on the front of the hives and just buzzing like that. It was pretty darn. And the smells, you got all the smells of the honey, and then you have the insects or birds or whatever in the woods kind of chirping and making their noises. Right. It's just such a peaceful thing, and just love it.
Yeah. Things like, I think pretty much for a lot of people this season, things kind of flipped in a good way, but things can flop very fast. And let me share this video. Bruce, you sent this video to me, and
you want me to set up the story?
So I'll pull it up. I won't hit play on it just yet, but if you can just set up the story of what we're going to see here.
Okay. Just north of me up here, probably 35, 40 minutes from here, up north of Ayrton, Alabama. I think Toby says he's from the Brundage, Troy area, but anyways, it's not too far north of me. Toby Reeder lives up there, and he's often in the chat. He couldn't make it on tonight, but he wanted me to share this video if you guys wanted to listen to it. But Toby has been working really hard with his bees. He's had bees, I think, for 2 or 3 years now, and he often will contact me. We'll talk back and forth a little bit, and he's actually done a pretty good job. I think they've had a little bit of a hard year up there, but they have had some honey come in, and he's harvested some and sold a little bit, just trying to kind of get ahead on his bee business. And I know he bought, when he was at the video where Greg came down and brought the Endura Hive boxes, Toby bought some of those boxes, and he's got them in his operation. And so anyway, apparently he pulled honey just a few days ago, and just in the last, I guess, 2 or 3 days. I'm not sure exactly when it was, but he's got a little shed, it looks like, there where he extracts his honey. He's got his extractor set up in there, and he had several supers stacked in there. And just to set up the video, now these supers are not extracted, so go ahead and play that video there, Brian.
I don't know how, but when I got home today, my honey house door was open. I had 5 honey supers still left to extract. Well, looks like the bees are going to extract it now. Ain't nothing I can do about it now. Let them finish.
So yeah. So he was pretty bummed about it. Lesson learned. He said he went and bought a padlock for the door. He said he didn't leave it open, and everyone at the house, I guess, said they didn't leave it open, but obviously somehow that door got opened, and
that is just,
they pretty much just robbed all the honey out of those supers that he had, and he's got a few hives, but he's just trying to get started a little bit. And so, that honey for him is how he makes the money back to be able to buy more equipment and continue to grow. So he's pretty bummed about it, but he's got the attitude so many beekeepers and so many people have. We'll just pick myself up, and we'll just lesson learn, and we'll move forward. But that was I don't know if there's going to be any more for him to harvest this year. Probably in this area, I doubt it, unless he has some more still in the hives to harvest. But you can see by that video too that our flow, he's a little bit north of us, but you can see by that video that the flow is probably about over, because if there was a nice nectar flow coming in, they wouldn't be worried about that honey. So, but yeah, that's just tough to see that happen. And you know, he's been extracting honey all spring. He's extracted a couple times before now and hadn't any problems, but I guess somehow that door got opened and
that's unreal.
Out. Yeah, it's kind of sad, but anyway.
Yeah.
So his luck kind of flipped on him there a little bit. Had a hard time, but so Bruce, the title. Go ahead.
Have you had a year or a stretch of years where things flopped so bad you just could hardly even see how you could flip or turn it around? Have you ever had years that bad?
I would say 2 years ago, and even the beginning of last year was kind of like that. I mean, I never decided, I never thought about quitting, but man, I had 2 years ago, we had about half as much honey as the previous year and just didn't have a lot of honey. And I think my bees might've been a little weaker. That was the last year I sent bees out to California. They came back. We had a really bad experience with that. All the other experiences have been pretty good, but for some reason it just was a horrible experience. The bees came back. They didn't have any food in the hives. It was kind of the opposite of what I'd seen in the past, sending them out to California. And when they came back, so that was probably one of the big reasons we didn't have much honey, because those hives, some of them died out. And the ones that finally caught back up, they'd had so little brood in the colonies when they got back home that it took them, they were peaking about the time the honey flow was over. And I tried to get them out to a place, you know, they're in Midland. That's how the Midland City Yard started. I took 20 hives out there and set them on a trailer, hoping to catch some of the tallow flow out there, but it just never happened. And so, so that year was a bad year. It was just a bad year, period. But I had a really bad year. I think I had half of what I had the previous year. And then moving on into last summer, remember I had all those hives up in Ozark that were just so mean. I don't even have the Ozark bee yard. I don't have bees up there anymore. I actually purchased the land and then took bees off of it. But you know, I tried just doing some split slate with Michael Palmer queens, and then I actually got some Your Queens, Greg, and put them in a really bad situation. And they just I think they ended up with some sort of a gut issue. They just wouldn't take food in the middle of the dirt. They just got sick, and then they got filled with hive beetles. And I ended up starting with 53 colonies in that bee yard. I actually moved Corey Stevens queens out of there. To move them to a different location because I wanted those to be Michael Palmer, Nature's Image Farm queens up there to make them nice. And I think I ended up coming out of last year with like 5 or 6 colonies there. I started with 53, so that was rough. And it was beekeeper error. I'm gonna blame 90% of that on me, because I know Michael Palmer makes good queens. I know you make good queens, Greg. So it wasn't the queens. It was beekeeper. I broke those hives down so hard in August, right in the worst time of the year to really do something like that. And I just lesson learned. And I also tried a new queen introduction method I did it wrong. Everything was just wrong, but I learned a lot from that. So that year from, I guess that would have been 2023, summer 2023 through last spring or through last winter 23-24 was just really tough. Just losing all those colonies, having to clean them all up, having to do everything. And then last year I really kind of, you know, I did a lot of splits. I found the queens from Zach and I could get them in February. So I started making splits early in February, and they kind of took off, and I kind of got a blueprint for how things were going to work for me down here with able to get queens in February. And so I had a record crop last year, and I kind of repeated that formula this year. I actually shut down the Ozark bee yard. And then these bees down in Slocum and down in Applin, those I call my 2 southern bee yard route, a southern bee yard route, or whatever you want to call it. Those 2 yards have just been so phenomenal. And Greg, you went to both of those with me. You could see, I would say, you know, probably 80 to 90% of those bees are really nice now. There still are a few that are a little bit spicy, but for the most part, the attitude is much, much better. And it's just been fun. And so that year, probably, I would say that was kind of a flop, and that some of it was things that's kind of out of my control, and some of it was 100% beekeeper error. But when you just lose that many colonies, you know, and you just open up every hive, and they're just not only hive beetles up on the top bars, but also running all through the bees in the middle of like October, November, January, you know, all through the winter. we don't see hive beetles in the winter to speak of. It was just really discouraging and frustrating. And I did save a few colonies probably from that little beetle vac that I got from Bug Farmer. The thing, it really was effective, but the battery didn't last very long on it. And as many beetles I had, it was kind of, I needed a more powerful battery.
About that thing.
And I had to kind of, and it's kind of broken, like the tip where he tapes it on kind of came off. I should probably get that thing running again, but anyway, so many people reached out to me. So many people helped me through that process, including you guys. And last year I kind of got a formula that seemed to work. And I feel like if I repeat it again this year, maybe it'll work again. And it has so far. So we'll see where it goes moving into next year. I tell people, because so many people are like, man, it's been raining up here. Man, it's, they're really like having a hard year. People in Texas where there's droughts in some parts of the country, too much rain in other parts. You guys had so much rain up there. And I'm just like, I'm just blessed. We're in a little pocket of the country right here that we've, at least right here where my bees are, I've just been real blessed. And so next year we may have all the rain and we may have the drought, which I just don't know what I would do if that happened. But, and you guys may have a perfect year. So it's just, we are fortunate this year. The Lord has blessed us immensely. He's blessed my operation. He's blessed my bees. We're not done with the year yet. Now is when it gets tough. Beginning this weekend, we're going to pull this honey. And then as soon as that honey is off, now is when the real beekeeping starts, as far as trying to get them ready, trying to control any pests, trying to actually dig down in the boxes and see how they're really doing. Because I haven't been in these bees down in the brood nest on most of them in at least a couple of months, probably. I've peeked in and I've looked at the honey and I've kind of looked at the front of the beehive to see how they're doing. But as far as going down and seeing what the real situation is in the brood nest, probably 80% of these hives, I really haven't done that. And so that's when you always find problems. You find hives that are honey bound, or they might not be queen right, or they've got hive beetles in them. You start seeing some problems. And July, August, September down here are absolutely brutal. So, but every year it's that way. It's nothing different this year. It's every year it's that way. And so that's what I'm looking forward to in the next couple of months. But Greg, that was a long-winded question to tell you. Yes, 2 years ago was pretty rough. I would call it a flop. I would call it a flop for more ways than one.
And then the flops get flipped around, and hearing you kind of line that out there, you had some pretty tremendous and significant growth after. Brian, the same. I can say that for us as well. Those years where it just has really, really, really gone bad. The following year is maybe the best, and the following years, and it actually reminds me. You guys know me well enough now that I don't believe in fortune. I don't believe in good luck. I don't believe in coincidence. And it actually reminds me. You know what? Tonight's Bible study at church. It was in Joel, so I doubt Pastor Steve's listening, but I was just thinking here as we were talking about flip and flop. Tonight we were in the book of Joel, and Joel is, a minor prophet. When you read through that, it's foretelling and a lot of doom and gloom, right? But in the book of Joel, and I would challenge anyone listening to this to read that, because it's going to resonate on several levels. But in the book of Joel, he's saying, make sure that you tell your children and great grandchildren this. And he then lines this whole entire thing out where in the land, everything was absolutely obliterated. 4 locusts, symbolically or figuratively, rounds of locusts come through and absolutely decimate everything. The trees, the bark, the leaves, the grapes, the corn, the grass, so much that there's nothing for even the sheep to eat. So think about that. Think about that kind of destruction where perennial fruit trees are absolutely decimated, who would be bearing. Anyone who has grown a fruit tree, an apple tree, knows, even if you get a dwarf apple tree, by the time that you plant it, you're going to be at a minimum 2 to 4 years before it will bear fruit. Right? Think about a semi-dwarf apple tree or a standard apple tree. It could be 10 years before you plant that rootstock, before that tree could bear. Think about grapes and vineyards, how long it takes.
Oh yeah.
Before it actually comes into bearing, let alone the process of actually making wine or harvesting the apples or sowing the corn and actually having the crop. Now imagine all of that being completely decimated, scorched earth. It's not just it'll get better tomorrow or next week. Like, it could take some time. But in the book of Joel, it's talking about it is just all laid to waste, scorched earth. And then the priests, the ministers, bring that before the Lord and cry out for mercy. And then what does it say? That the God then comes and brings it all to them. He restores all of that, and everyone is satisfied. All it took was them crying out to the Lord, and he came through and restored all of that. And I think about even our beekeeping season, our farming seasons, where there are times where it feels like it is just scorched earth, complete loss, absolute doom and gloom. But yet, what happens in the future? We've had some of the absolute best growth years, or succession of growth years, after some of just the hardest losses, where you feel like everything was just absolutely flopped. It could not flop any worse. And just like that, it flips. And then sometimes that flip you see continuing to grow and gain momentum in ways that you can't even imagine for several years to come. It's really something to think about.
Yeah. Do you want to know, in the back of my head, with all the knowledge that I've been able to acquire in the last few years, the goal that I have, it's just us three on here, right? It's just us three.
Just us three.
No one else will ever see this. No one will ever listen to this. Just us three. My goal that I have, and this will probably be for next year, is I want to break 1,000-pound honey.
1,000 pounds.
Might have to get someone to help you.
No, I'll do it all myself.
So your friendly Alabama beekeeper might have to come up and help you with that.
I'll do it all myself. I'll do it myself. But that's why I'm settling on around 20 colonies.
Break it down, Brian. What does 1,000 pounds of honey look like? Break it down.
It's a number of buckets.
Okay, so 1,000 pounds divided by 60 pounds is 16.66 buckets on average.
Yeah.
On a good year, how many pounds of honey does one of your colonies produce?
I've got, I mean, my better survivor that I have over there is working their 4th super. The other ones are working their 2nd. We'll probably fill 2 at least. I'll probably throw a 3rd one, but there's
a bucket.
Work it. So yeah, I mean 2, that's a bucket. So I mean, if I end up with, that's why I'm looking at, okay, if I can get around 20, I probably will play around with 2 or 3 of those colonies. I'll use them to beef up others. I kind of have an idea for how I'm going to utilize the hex hive in the future. But yeah, that's why I'm looking at it. And I'm like, man, if I can take what I've learned and set a goal, the whole thing might flop. Oh, well, if it does, it does. I take it and I absorb what I can from that lesson and I move forward, and then I just keep moving forward until I hit that goal. I want 1,000 pounds of honey.
Your goal is right there, well within reach. Look, you see that?
Oh, yeah.
16.6. Yeah. You need 16.6 colonies producing 2 supers apiece, and bingo.
Easy.
Yeah, it's actually what we found, at least if they're nice full fat frames, it's actually a little more than a half a bucket per super. So you might end up with, I think Rusty figured out it was like each bucket is like, I don't know, maybe 2/3. Each box is like 2/3 of a bucket, maybe just a little bit over half. So
Yeah.
You might get away with 15, colonies producing that many or whatever. You might get away with a few less boxes.
That's what I want.
It's exciting, man. That's good stuff.
Be nice.
That's the goal. That's a good goal, and you might reach it, or you're going to be close. It sounds like. So it's amazing to me too. Really, honestly, with how much you guys have been talking about, how much rain you've had, and how difficult it's been, that the bees are still they're taking care of business, man. Every day of sunshine, every dry moment, they're out there foraging and grabbing whatever nectar they can and bringing it in. So to me, it almost is like a miracle. And I know you guys' season is later than ours, but similarly here, I mean, I thought, everything was late. Our spring flow was really good, I thought. And then it just dried up completely, like nothing for like 3 weeks. I ended up with about the same spring harvest I had last year when I thought it was going to be a record spring harvest, maybe a little bit less even. I can't remember how many I had last year, but it was pretty similar, pretty close. And then, boy, when that thing turned on, and we've had really a pretty good rain, here. Now it started raining more lately, but during the peak honey flow, it would rain. Rain one day, and then we go like 4, 5, 6, even a week before it would rain again. Maybe in a couple of weeks, but in a couple of weeks, they can get a lot done. And I don't know. It's been a really pretty ideal year. We did have the late cold, which I think is why everything was late. We had the snowstorm here, which we never have to speak of, and so we've got. I could have probably, we're going to pull 250 plus supers. More than likely, we'll see what actually happens over the next couple of days. But I mean, I didn't have enough boxes of comb to actually stack them. I've got boxes, but I didn't have enough. I didn't want to throw foundation on last minute. I threw a few boxes on, but I don't think they would have drawn it out. But if I'd had more comb drawn, I probably could have harvested. I could have got another 50 to 100 boxes probably if I would have had, because they packed them in there.
250 supers. And I mean, if you go, 35 pounds, just say, in a super?
It's a lot.
250 times 35 is 8,700.
Yeah, it's possible.
8,750.
I don't know if it'll be quite that much, but it might be pretty close to that. We pulled a ton so far. So we're going to end up with, that's assuming that, because when I did that video last weekend, we just popped the lids and looked at the top box. So I don't know what's going on underneath that top box. But my guess is if the top box is full, then more than likely the boxes underneath it are full, unless it was foundation I put on late, which if that was the case, possibly not. But, and a few of them have the simple comb in them, that's a whole different ball game. Some of those were really nice and some of them didn't draw out very well, but that's only 26 frames out of all that. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot, and we're going to be hot and sticky and sweaty. I in my video, I think I mentioned it's going to be a lot of work, a lot of fellowship. But it's also going to be a lot of fun, and that's how it is every year. So I look forward to it.
Yeah. We heard it though, Greg. I mean, next year, if things are going good, I mean, somebody from Alabama is going to come up here and help me extract.
I'll do it, man. I'll do it this year if you tell me when. And if I don't, I've got July. I've got a lot all my kids, 3 of my 4 kids are moving in July. And so I'm not sure if I can do a lot in July, but we'll have to see. But I'd love to come up there. It'd be a blast to come up there and help you one of these days if I know in advance.
Yeah.
Have fun. But I don't know if you want to, hit it all in one. I don't know if you want to hit it all in one weekend or if you want to split it up into 3 or 4 weeks. I'm not sure how you want to do it.
I probably, I should have picked one up. Well, no, probably 2, but I don't need them just yet this year, just because this year is rebuild. But I know in the future, I know what I'm going to need is I'll start using fume boards. I can't do, when I'm getting to the number where I want to sit at, I will quickly learn that the whole extraction process will be a flop if I do not change up how I pull my honey. Because
how do you do it? Do you just shake them out or blow them out, or what do you do?
Currently, I have a Hive butler, and I bring that out there, and I literally go frame by frame. I shake them. I just give it the quick shake, and then brush. I put them in the Hive butler. I'd go box by box like that. And that, like where I'm going, the direction I'm going as far as number of colonies. I mean, you know, let's just say if there's 2 supers on 15 colonies, I'm not going to go through, you know, 30 supers shaking every frame. It'll take me all day.
Hey, Brian, hate to cut you off there. We've got severe weather coming through, and I just got a seek shelter immediately warning. So I'm going to jump off here and head over with the kids.
Shelter, yeah,
the dogs and all that, and Sue's, of course. So
get safe.
I will catch you guys next week.
Okay, appreciate it.
Go get safe.
We'll see you guys.
Yeah,
see you, man.
This weather in Ohio today is
sounds like it's crazy.
Unreal. Yeah, no, we had it. Thankfully, like we had 2 systems that worked up tornado warnings around my area today, and they both kind of skirted like around, like the last one right when we started. Literally, when I walked upstairs, I was just finished up with the news and all that stuff, and they flipped over from the program that I had on to, it was the weather saying tornado, and if you're in this area, seek shelter. And I looked at it and I thought, that's south. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, we get some wild weather down here sometimes too, and
yeah,
tornadoes and stuff around here. I guess it happens most everywhere, but it is terrifying. Yeah. It's terrifying when a nasty thunderstorm's coming through. It's really, it's just Mother Nature. We all think we're pretty tough until a big storm or something, a big, Mother Nature wants to talk to us, and there's nothing we can do.
Yeah,
at all. We can just get out of the way.
It was May 31st of 1985. So they just went through like all the 40-year talk about there was an F5 tornado that hit my area. And I mean, it wiped out a lot of stuff. I mean, it was a EF5, they call them now. Years ago, they just said F5. But like the one town that I'm close to here, it went directly through downtown. Literally, it wiped out the administration building, police station, literally everything. Like the main drag in the one smaller town where I'm at, it wiped out like 75% of the town.
Wow.
So I know, I mean, like when there's storms like that coming, you got to take shelter. I mean, it's just, I remember that year, and after that one come through, there was another one. It was like a F3 or something. It was smaller that was coming through. So we're, the sirens, and we were up actually looking at debris up the street. I was at my grandma's, and it was that close. Like we were literally looking at houses just, it looked like a war zone.
Wow.
And sirens go off, and the police are saying, seek shelter, and we're hiding in a basement. And yeah, that's no fun.
We've done a lot of disaster relief with the church all through the South after hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff, and seen we had a massive tornado go right through downtown Enterprise about 25-30 miles west of us here back in 2008, I believe. Direct hit of the high school, had several kids that got killed. And so when that happened, the high school was just rubble. They built a new high school. It's got a big storm shelter underneath it or whatever. So they took care of that. But I remember going and checking, we went into neighborhoods, cutting trees down and trying to clean up some debris. And just remembered seeing one example I can think of is a big board. I think it was a 2x4 or maybe a 4x4 or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was just stuck in the road, like right through the road. And it had, and someone come by with a chainsaw and cut it off, but it just like basically like a spear stabbed into the road and just right in that neighborhood. And, it's just unbelievable. And you'll have a house that's totally demolished and then a house, 30 feet away that's not even touched. It's so crazy how those storms happen. But hurricanes are brutal too with the storm surge. Hurricanes, just the storm surge, the wind is bad enough. And then the storm surge it just brings the water inland and just, that's so powerful. It just can completely wipe out entire communities.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy.
When that tornado happened in 85, I remember walking up right around the corner from my grandma's, and we were going down the street and just looking at all the debris and just seeing what was going on. And
so hey guys.
I remember there was a house. How you doing, buddy?
This is Reed. He wanted to come say hi. Say wave at Brian. All right, better go. Say bye, Brian.
Bye, Brian.
Bye.
Bye. All right, go see your dad.
There was literally a house though when we were walking up the street. It's like it had picked it up and all the windows were still intact. Not a window was broken, nothing like that. It was picked up right off its foundation and it was sitting right in the middle of the road. And we were sitting there walking up the street and we saw it and we're like, what? You know, but yeah, it's just the power of those storms. It's just, you got to be careful though. I mean, when they're coming, you got to be careful, you know? So yeah, DC, it was, DC. If you look up, if you go on Google and I'll type it in. So type this into Google, Niles, Ohio, May 1985 tornado. Yeah, DC, Google that when you have time. So I think that tornado there was the largest F5 tornado, like as far as the furthest east. So yeah, it was massive. But so Bruce, you got your extraction here coming up. Do you? So your crew that you have that's going to pull honey, you're going to start that all on Friday?
Yeah, they're going to actually get here tomorrow, mid-afternoon. They're flying into Panama City Beach, Florida. And so they're going to get here probably 2:30 tomorrow afternoon, something like that. So it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And so I thought we might try to pull some of the smaller areas. We might try to pull the northern route.
Right.
Tomorrow evening, we'll see how the weather is. Tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy. And today it was partly cloudy and we had a big thunderstorm that rolled through. So when it says partly cloudy, you know, it doesn't say there's a chance of rain, but that means there's a chance of rain. And so
right
this time of the year, but if the weather's permitting, we'll try and make a little bit of a dent into it tomorrow afternoon. And then Friday will be the big day pull. And then Saturday we'll extract. And so the extraction is the pulling is you can do that with, 5 or 6 people, even 3 or 4 or 5 people, but the extraction just requires, there's so many moving parts. And if you can do it with like a crew of 8, but it's just, everybody's running around and it's hard to keep up. And it's really hard to take a break, especially if you got to keep the extractors running all the time. But hopefully we'll be able to, I just hope we don't have too many people that people feel like they're running all over each other, not getting any experience or working. I hope we're kind of at that point to where everybody can have a good time and still work hard and keep those things rolling and moving. But we have 2 extractors going. Each extractor really requires a team of 2 to kind of manage it, load it, unload it, and then kind of manage the honey as it comes out. Then we have the guy running the actual encapper, have 1 or 2 people kind of feeding him boxes and frames. And then we have somebody that's kind of moving buckets into the strainers that go, the hop spiders that we pour it through now into our big tank. And then 1 or 2 people managing the buckets. And so, yeah, Glade says we're landing in Panama City at noon tomorrow. So yeah, they'll be here by probably 2:30 at the latest.
Awesome.
So we'll probably try and pull some tomorrow afternoon. Glade, I hope bring an extra set of clothes if we're going to do anything tomorrow, because you'll be sweaty. You don't want to. Everything is so hot and sweaty down here. Either bring an extra set of clothes or find a laundromat somewhere. But it's going to be you just sweat. I mean, down here, even if you're outside, even when you're not working, you sweat. And so and be sure. I hope all 3 of you guys are bringing your bee gear, because even though my bees are nicer than they have been, it's going to be kind of robby, and I think it might be they might be kind of robby and a little bit more feisty than usual. So yeah, Glade says I'm trying to kill him, but he Glade, you're kind of old like me, so maybe you and I have to take a break and let the younger guys keep going there a little bit. But I think Saturday is actually going to be. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be hot and nasty like usual, but I think hot and sticky is a better word for it. Rusty, my friend Rusty, always says that honey is both the stickiest and the slipperiest thing at the same time that there is on the planet. If you get it on your fingers or anything it touches, it feels sticky. But then if you step in it, like there's a puddle of it on the floor, it's like a banana peel. You'll slip out. It'll slip out from under you so quickly. And so But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I look for, I'm going to try and shoot some footage. I never know what's going to happen with my videos every year. It's just kind of, I don't know exactly what my plan is. I just kind of film some stuff and usually it comes together pretty good. So we'll see what I end up with, but we got a lot of people rolling through here. It's going to be a little reunion of sorts. Probably, let's see, coming in from out of town, we got the 3 guys from Utah. We got 2 to 3 from Tennessee. Lee Fellows, his wife, and maybe their grandson's coming. And then Gigi's coming over from Mississippi. Gigi's been in the chat tonight, and she said, "Hi, I sure would love to come." So I said, "Hey, you want to come? Just shoot me an email." And she did. And so she's going to come over from Mississippi, and then everybody else is going to be local folks here. So that alone, people from out of town, is going to be 6 to 7 people on the crew. And then,
wow.
So we're going to see what happens. And then myself, my wife, and/or my son-in-law, and then just other folks. Like Lisa's going to come in the afternoon and help out. So we talked about that earlier. So it's going to be a good crew. I think I've got 15 to 16 tentative people coming, but some aren't going to be there all day. Awesome. So I hope it's just, like I say, I hope it's not so many people that everybody feels like we're stepping all over each other and it's too much. And everybody's got to know, we got to be able to kind of work together and not, be too many. I'm afraid. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't think it will. It'll be a good time. We're looking forward to it. And I do know one thing. It'll be some recovery time because I'm always exhausted. I think everybody always is after it, but it's a very fulfilling type of tired and fatigue and exhaustion. Well, and then once all the buckets are extracted and all the, it's kind of like once the lights go off, so to speak, after a ball game or whatever, then the crew comes in and cleans the stadium and fixes the field and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of that way. Once everybody's gone and all the big event happens, then the following week, I'll be moving buckets up to where I store them, and I'll be moving supers up to the farm, and then I'll be stacking supers and storing supers. And that's, the actual complete process is not over probably until mid to late next week. Cause Sunday I just rest. I'm not going to do anything on Sunday. I try not to do a lot on Sunday anyway.
Yeah.
If anything, if I have buckets in my truck, I may go unload them, but I probably won't. I'll probably I'm not sure, but I try to avoid doing a lot of stuff on Sunday. Plus I'm going to be driving those guys back to Panama City, Bracken and Glade, back down to Panama City. So, it's the evening chore for probably half the next week, just getting everything away from the honey house in Hartford up to where in Newton where I keep everything. And then we'll roll right into the storage of the boxes. And then we'll roll right into just checking for mites and treating for mites and actually going through bees and seeing how they look after the busy honey season and trying to keep them alive until next year. So that's what we got going on. But the next 3 days are going to be pretty intense. Tomorrow morning, I'll take tomorrow off. I'm going to get up in the morning and kind of just got a few things I need to do to finish up preparation. And then when those guys roll into town, we're going to hit it. If it's weather permitting, if it's not pouring down rain, we're going to hit it tomorrow afternoon. So we'll see how it goes.
Right. Yeah. Well, good deal. Film some stuff because I'll tell you what, and Glade's on here, Jed's on here, a couple people are on here. So if there's no video, if there's no video,
it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. You could be like, instead of Bruce's bees, you could be like Bruce's packing operation. We don't know.
Yeah.
So we need video. We need video evidence that proves that, well, yes, we did work this yard. We pulled from there. We pulled from there. Pulled from there.
Yeah, you'll have some. So, as soon as my phone doesn't break down or my camera doesn't break down, we'll have some footage. There's no problem with that. And I'm hoping Jed and Bracken and Glade film a little bit too. Last year Bracken just filmed a couple of minutes, but they're feel free to just film whatever they want. So I hope they come prepared to get some video as well.
You know what? So you know what you should do is you should have one person set up a camera and just do a time lapse.
That'll be fun. I'm not even sure how to do that, but that would be cool. That'd be really cool. See those buckets just stacking up over there in the corner.
Talk to your
it's going to be, it could legitimately be, 250 boxes could legitimately be 130, 140 buckets when all said and done. It might be, might not be, but it could be.
Right there, live stream. Just set it up and you could just live stream the entire time. And
I'll let Jed do that if he wants to.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
I'm not sure what the reception is in the honey house either. It's got a tin roof. It may not be very good, but it's out in the middle of nowhere. We'll see. Anyway,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm about to go to bed and try and get some sleep and get up early in the morning and get rocking and rolling and getting ready. I got some things I got to just need to make a list. There's 3 or 4 things I need to kind of get finished up getting ready, but I think we're pretty much ready to go.
Yeah. One last question for you, and then we're going to wrap it up. Do you have your own honey house or?
Yeah, Mark, I used to do it in my garage here. I've got a 1-car garage here at my house in Dothan, Alabama, and I've found out that I just had too many boxes of honey. So I think it was in probably, I'm not even sure what year it was, 2019, 2020, 21, somewhere in that time frame. I can't remember what year it was. We've been doing it together for a few years now, but a friend of mine, Rusty Norris, who has a channel, Herding Bees with Rusty and Mike. He does removals as well. He's a instructor pilot out at Fort Rucker here, or Fort Novacell here in the area. But he and I talked about it, and we decided to combine our efforts. And so if you kind of look at my videos over the last few summers, you can kind of see how it's grown. We started off, I had a 20 frame Maxon extractor. He had a 30 frame Lyson, and we each had our own uncapping table tank that he actually got mine from me, and I bought it from him. And then he got his, and we used the Simple Harmony Farms uncappers, and we used to strain them with paint strainers in 5-gallon buckets. And we did a lot of honey that way. Before last year, we just decided, I was like, we got to figure something else out. And so we actually purchased an it's like 50 years plus, one of the original, I think, Cowan uncappers, commercial grade. And that thing just, it kind of was a little bit, I don't know what the word is. It didn't work. It worked last year, but it was kind of picky. Like, it wasn't consistent. And you had to kind of work with it a little bit to get it to work. I'm a little cranky, so to speak, but this year it's got a brand new motor on it. The motor went out a couple of days before. Rusty was testing it like 2 days before we harvested the spring flow. It quit working, so he went and got a motor, put it on there, and it purrs like a kitten. And that thing is much faster, and it saves your forearms. Those Simple Harmony Farms uncappers will wear your forearms out after. You can do thousands of frames through there. It really makes you tired.
Mm-hmm.
Finicky, that's the word, Jimmy. Finicky is what I was trying to think of. But yeah, so last year we have the Cowan uncapping system, and we have 2 32 frame Hilco extractors. So we're running 64 at a time, spinning, and they're bolted to the floor. But it's at his place. He's got like a barn that he built, and it's got a room that works well for us. And we get the big crew, and then we just rock and roll with it. We figured out kind of how to simplify straining the honey through into a big tank that then we put it in 5-gallon buckets. It's a lot cleaner that way than it used to be using the paint strainers. And that worked for a long time, but man, it just got to where we were doing too many that we couldn't do it that way. And our biggest bottleneck this year is just the uncappers working so fast that we can't keep the extractors, like, it just backs up. The frames back up waiting to put them in extractors. So, you gotta, even with 64 frames going at once, and then it takes a while to unload the extractors and load them back again. Yeah. And so it's just quite the thing. My goal this Saturday is going to be to hopefully figure out who are the most efficient extractor loaders and let them kind of load the extractors, because those Hilco extractors are really good. They hold the frames in place really well, but the fit is kind of tight, which is one reason that they run so well. But you can't just stick them in there real quick. You got to kind of make sure they fit in there. The frames will kind of drop out of them a little bit. If they're in there solid, which they are, if you know what you're doing, they'll run in just super solid and super smooth and spin the honey out. So that's kind of my goal, is to see who's going to be, get 3 or 4 people that can load them pretty efficiently, and let them rock and roll with that. But we're going to have a good time. We'll let people rotate through the different stations and do different things and have experience doing it. And hopefully everybody will have a good time, but we are going to have to work. I hope folks, everybody that's come, most people are coming, like, I know a lot of people have done it before and know what's required, but we're going to have to just work hard and get it done. And just, once again, fellowship, fun, and hard work. It's going to be a blast.
Sounds good.
To answer the question, Mark, yes, me and a friend share his space, and we share our equipment, and it's worked out real well for us for the last several years.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, we still got a couple questions here, but I tell you what, like, Bobby, that's a good question. Next week, we're going to be on Bruce's channel. So, Bobby, tune in next week, same exact time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. We'll get an update from Bruce how the extraction all went. by that point, he'll have moved supers, things like that. So we can pick his brain on what he's going to do to keep wax moths, small hive beetles, all that kind of stuff out of that. But yeah, Bruce, get some rest. Next week here, I do have to, I got to get a couple stands built. I just got to do a couple things like that just because things expanded out faster than what I thought they would. But yeah, I mean, it's just almost like cruise control. So, and monitor space. So if they fill out some supers and then I got to add more on, I actually have them ready. So if they do fill out what supers they put on, I've got supers that are already ready with drawn comb. I can just under super them, slap them on and just go. So, but, appreciate everybody that tuned in this week. Appreciate, I saw a couple new members here. Matt, thank you. Highland Honey, thank you. Mark, appreciate that. Bruce, appreciate that as always. Justin, appreciate that. Like hearing the excitement from both of you guys. Yeah, we get excited. So, but Bruce, are you going to end it off?
I can. In the Bible, there's a verse that talks about how we should be the light. Let your light so shine. And so I think that's kind of where Greg got his hashtag be the lighthouse, BEE the lighthouse. And that's their theme at Nature's Image Farm. And we've kind of just adopted that with the StreamTeam. And that's really what it's all about. The community, sharing knowledge and sharing with others in a positive way. We don't tolerate trolls. Get on here, you're a troll, you're out of here. That's just how it is. There's no reason for that. Typically beekeepers, new beekeepers and old beekeepers alike, are trying to figure things out. And there is no dumb question. Most people are just trying to figure it out. And so there's many ways to do things. Everybody's got to figure out what works best for them. And that's one of the beautiful things about beekeeping is that there's always something to learn and so many variables. And it's also frustrating that it's not just it's not just a plug and play thing. Everybody's got to figure out what works best for them and what their goals are. And so, we just try to, when we say we're trying to let our light shine and be the lighthouse, I saw everybody in this chat. It's not just three of us or whoever comes on this chat with us. It's everybody in the comments, everyone who's a part of this community and the entire beekeeping community, the entire community with the expo, everybody that's kind of what Cayman has tried to do with the whole thing. And I think there's a lot of groups out there doing these chats, a lot of people sharing a lot of great knowledge. And it's been a lot of fun to be a part of that. We've been doing it now for 3.5 years almost, basically right at 3.5 years. And so, I mean, who would have imagined, who would have thought, we knew we were doing something that was going to be fun, but it's turned into something. And we have a consistent chat pretty much every Wednesday night. We enjoy it. So anyway, I think I'm going to say this correctly, that what Greg would say, he would say that we should all just try to, be the lighthouse, be the light that you want to see in the world. And we appreciate y'all coming on tonight. Y'all take care and we'll see you next week.
See y'all.